Blog Talk Radio.
This is America First Patriot Podcast. Defending freedom and liberty is our motto. We put God first and politics second. I'm your Patriot host, Chauncey Brown. Welcome to the show. Tonight, we have longtime journalist, radio, television, and media personality who's been reporting on corrupt Florida state attorneys and also on a two-term congressman forcing him to abandon his bid. Bobby Powell was also there on January 6th, witnessing federal agents breaking into the Capitol. Let me welcome into the studio, without any further ado, Bobby Powell. How you doing, Bobby?
Hey, thank you, Chauncey. I'm great, brother. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm doing well. Thank you so much for your service to this country, and thank you for your efforts and your heroism of coming forward, sharing the truth, and speaking the truth. I'll let you go and share your story and how we got to where we are today.
Well, thank you. But first of all, I got to reject that label hero because I'm just doing what any honest man would do. I swore an oath to defend this nation as a 16-year-old Marine recruit, and I don't recall being given an expiration date. So when I witnessed and recorded federal agents, and one of them has been identified now, when I witnessed and recorded federal agents attacking the Capitol on January 6th, my duty was clear. I had to expose it at all costs. Okay, now I'll give you a rundown of what happened that day real quick. We've got a lot of stuff to go through. I'll try to be quick, concise, and not get too upset because last week at Donald Trump's rally in Las Vegas, he mentioned my video. He didn't mention me by name, but he did mention my video of an identified federal agent smashing a window up the east side of the Capitol and encouraging people to enter. Okay, so now we're going back to January 6th, the original January 6th. It's about, I don't know, maybe 1 o'clock, and the president's still speaking. And I was there with somebody else. We had an agreement to pool footage. And we were getting basically the same thing, right? The crowd in the ellipse watching President Trump speak. Well, I wanted to get video of 750,000 people walking directly at me. Because President Trump had said to go down to the Capitol building and make your voices peacefully and patriotically heard. So I left the ellipse and got to the Capitol, and I did get my footage of 750,000 people walking straight at me. And by the time I got there, though, about maybe 1:30, just minutes after President Trump had finished speaking, the west side of the Capitol was already under attack. Now, at the time, I had my fiance with me, and she had just had a knee replacement. She was tired of walking and didn't want to walk anymore. So we decided to bypass that ruckus altogether, and we went around on the north side of the Capitol. And because we had what, for lack of a better term, a forward operating base, an apartment where we could go and recharge our phones and whatnot on the northeast side of the Capitol. But then when I get around to the east side itself, I see a group of people rushing towards the Capitol steps. And I told my fiance, hey, look, okay, you just sit here in this Department of Homeland Security pickup truck. You will be fine. I've got to do what I've got to do. This is my job. This is a historic event. I've got to get some video of it. And I did. I worked my way up through the crowd of people that had gathered at the base of the steps that lead up to the 20,000-pound bronze Columbus doors. And while I'm down there, my video records the Columbus doors closed, and they are magnetically sealed at this time. You cannot open the Columbus doors if you had a rocket launcher. Okay, so I'm in this crowd, and just a little sidebar here. Attorney Brad Geyer introduced into evidence a photograph of my phone being held up, recording events, and he had numbered people all around me. There were 80 undercover federal agents, informants, agents provocateur, whatever you want to call them, that attacked the east steps of the Capitol. 80 that we know of so far. We got our suspicions on another 40, but they've been they're different because the FBI has actually decided to upload their photographs to their database. These other 80 individuals, the FBI has never uploaded their photographs, any video of them committing their crimes as they assaulted police officers. I gave them my video on my 29 minutes of high definition footage of these two federal agents. One was pulling the window of a Senate office from its frame after it had been broken by Antifa BLM sympathizer by the name of Hunter Emke from Glendora, California. And the other was holding the Columbus doors open with a pole and pushing people inside. Okay, so I'm in this crowd of federal agents. I'm surrounded by them, Chauncey. I am surrounded by them. And the melee breaks out between the Capitol Hill police that had formed a line to keep these agent provocateurs down, and the agent provocateurs themselves. Okay, I was knocked down, and I was knocked down with this little 70-year-old Air Force veteran, a little old lady, and I just put my arm around her and kind of trying to protect her, and I said, "Look, let's just let this mob pass us, and then we'll get up and brush the dust off ourselves. I think that's the safest thing to do." So that's what we did, and by the time I got up to the steps at 2:08, did I mention that Capitol Hill police officer had stolen one of my cameras, the one that was showing?
No.
Okay, well, now I have. That camera that's in that picture that was submitted into evidence by Brad Geyer is now in the possession of the FBI. They will not return it. They will not acknowledge it through FOIA requests. From that camera, there is exculpatory evidence that exists that the FBI is not giving to defense attorneys, the Department of Justice too. Okay, so at 2:08, I get to reach the top of the steps. I hear a crashing to my right and turn my camera to capture Hunter Emke initially breaking the Senate office window. He is properly arrested by a squad of 8 Capitol Hill police officers. They take his identification and they let him go. Tactically, that's a wise decision. How do you maintain control of a prisoner while you're trying to keep a mob of people that say, we're going to go in there out? Okay, so Hunter Emke was arrested the next week at his home in Glendora, California, and he spent the next year on a ankle monitor in his basement, eating Hot Pockets and playing video games until he went to trial and was found guilty and spent 4 months in the clink. Okay, so after that window had been broken, I was just taking some, general B-roll of what was going on, just a general sense of the scene of what was happening.
Right.
And I turned to the window and I started picking up a few shards of glass to keep as souvenirs. Like I said, I didn't know what started this. I didn't know how it was going to end, but I knew that we were in a historic moment. Now, as I'm picking up these shards of glass from that broken window, a man approaches me from behind and he says, why don't you guys tear out the rest of it and go on inside? I told him because I think that that's probably illegal. And he says,
exactly.
Well, I know, but yeah, and then his voice trails off, and what the rest of what he said is inaudible. At least I can't bring it out with the software that I have. But the crunching of the glass that he's pulling from its frame gets so loud in my right ear that I wheel around just in the nick of time to capture video of this man who is dressed in tactical black, has a radio attached to his chest and a camelback on his back, for drinking water purposes. I mean, this dude is fully tacked out. And
right.
The moment that he realizes that my camera is on him, he drops that glass to the ground. And when another protester, his name is Gavin Kroll, he came on to my show. He sought me out and wanted to tell his story. He told me that he was an anarchist. Okay, he's not a Trump supporter. Neither of the people that did damage to that window were Trump supporters. One was a BLM Antifa sympathizer, and the other is a self-proclaimed anarchist. So this FBI agent, the anarchist rushes in. If you go see my video, he's the ginger kid with the mirrored sunglasses. And at that moment, I have to break from my reporter mode. Up to this point, I haven't said a word. I'm just recording and documenting what I'm seeing. But when I see people start to rush into the Capitol through a broken window, that's when I drop my reporter mode. I swore that oath to defend this nation from enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't care if you're carrying an American flag or wearing a Trump beanie. You're not going inside that Capitol as long as I was standing there and nobody did. But as soon as he realized that my camera was on him, after I told Gavin Kroll not to go in there, this FBI agent starts pushing Kroll. I think that he realized that, he knew my camera was on him, but he didn't know how long. So he was just basically trying to cover his own butt and pretend that he was also defending that window. That man has since been identified as a taxpayer-paid special agent for the FBI, and I'll tell you who helped me identify him. His name is Stephen Friend. I'm sure that a lot of your listeners will know who Stephen Friend is. I got a name through open source intelligence, and I ran this guy down, and I found his Facebook page. It took a while, believe me.
Right.
But I took a clear photograph of this man from his Facebook page, full face on. It could have been a portrait, right? To an event that Steve Friend had in Clearwater in December of 2023. Oh no, yeah, it was November. But after I had broadcast his speech, he was there hawking his book and all that good stuff. I got into the reception line, and I bought his book. He signed it for me, and I showed him that picture, and I said, "Do you know who this man is?" And he said, "Yeah, that's Special Agent so-and-so from the Baltimore office."
Right.
Okay, I want your listeners to let that sink in. This man,
let that sink in. I wanted
who attacked
give me
the
a second.
Capitol.
I just want to do Bobby, give me 1 second while we're letting that sink in. I want to do a quick commercial break. For those that are tuning in, you're listening to America First Patriot Podcast. And we have J6 journalist Bobby Powell, who filmed federal agents attacking the Capitol in the studio. Also in queue, we have a special guest, GOP nominee, California Congress, District 6, Christine Bish, I apologize, is in the studio, and she'll be coming on shortly, and we're going to be excited to have her join us and talking about January 6th as well. Thank you, Bobby. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, so after this initial confrontation with between myself, the FBI agent, and the anarchist who tried to rush into the Capitol, I'm just standing there in front of the window to make sure that nobody else tries to go in. And eventually, people decided that they're not going to get past me. And they move over to the Columbus doors, which are now open, and people are coming in and out. So there's no longer a threat at that window. So I now move over to the Columbus doors to take some video over there. Now, I get as close as I can to the Columbus doors because I want to get good video of what's happening inside. I'm holding my camera up above my head so that I can get the best view that I can. Now, on my left side, I did not know this at the time, there was a man he was dressed out in brown tactical gear, wearing balaclavas, the type that are preferred by special forces in the Middle East. I mean, he had a radio and earphones. He was all kitted out too. He was holding the Columbus doors open with a pole, and he was pushing people inside. He tried to push me inside, but by the grace of God, at that moment, the inner Senate doors swung open, and Capitol Hill police began shooting squirt guns filled with chemical irritants and shooting paintballs with CS tear gas at the crowd, and it pushed the whole crowd back. But I got a face full of mace. When God answers a prayer, it's not always the way you'd prefer it to be. But by divine intervention, I was not swept in. I was not swept into the Capitol, as was Rebecca Lavrins. Now, let's see. Okay, I'm trying to keep time here. I've given this video now to 22 members of Congress, including 4 that sit on the Weaponization Committee. I handed it to Matt Gaetz on July 3rd, 2021, and Lauren Boebert the same day at a Trump rally in Sarasota. I also handed it to Christian Ziegler, who was at the time the Florida chairman of the Republican Party. On February 3rd, I sent the video and received acknowledged receipt from Senator Josh Hawley. His press office, press aide was named Ben Grunder. So he Senator Hawley has had this video for 3.5 years and has let Christopher Wray and Merrick Garland lie to him time and time again about federal agents being mixed in with Trump supporters at the Capitol on January 6th. Kirsten Sinema replied at the same time, so she also had it. Let's see, of the 4 members of the Weaponization Subcommittee I've given it to are Jim Jordan, Matt Gaetz, Thomas Stubbe, Greg Stubbe, and Thomas Massey. So they've all had it for 3 years now, and they've done nothing but provide lip service. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Louis Gohmert, and Matt Gaetz signed for a second copy by UPS registered letter in December of 2021. So, they're just running their gums, and they're not actually doing anything that would change the narrative from insurrection to federal entrapment. And Pete Sessions, Chief of Staff, Pete Sessions has had this for 3 years too, told me just before the midterms, because I'd asked him, why is this video of federal agents not being shown everywhere? And he said, we're going to wait until after the midterms. There's no use in putting anything out there right now. Well, the midterms were 2 years ago. Okay.
That's right.
Since then, I've testified in 3 January 6th trials for the defense in D.C. District Court. The first was United States versus Nancy Barron, because she was shoved into the Capitol by the same man who tried to shove me in. That's how my video was relevant in that case. The government fought for 6 hours to keep that video out of evidence and me off the stand, but they failed. And I spent the next afternoon and then morning testifying to the truth of what I saw, even under admonishments from the judge that I was not allowed to mention the words Antifa. I was not allowed to say undercover or federal agent. And check this out. After the government failed to keep my video out, they threatened me with prosecution. That's witness intimidation.
Exactly.
Okay, now dig this. Every time I brought up a salient point, every time that my video would show something important, the prosecutors would object. And I swear to God, Chauncey, this is what they said. Your Honor, this evidence and or video or testimony is prejudicial to the government. I had no idea that was even a valid objection. So the judge in the case, Zia Farquhar, he's just a rubber stamp for their objections. When my video shows those Capitol Hill police officers walking away to leave that video undefended, I was not allowed to tell the jury that I had heard the radio transmission that ordered them to walk away from that window. They called it hearsay. I said, yeah, I heard it. Now I'm saying it. Okay. Hearsay, for those that don't know, is when you hear something from a second party and repeat it in court.
Exactly.
I heard this myself. That's what caused me to turn my camera on and record that squad of 8 Capitol Hill police officers leaving that window completely undefended. Excuse me. Second trial, United States versus Ryan Zink. My video shows him standing on top of a pedestal with a camera taking pictures inside the Columbus doors. At the same time, the government says that he was causing a ruckus inside. The judge in that case, James Boasberg, who was a member of the FISA court and literally a member of Skull and Bones, objected more to my testimony than the prosecution did. In the third case, U.S. versus Rebecca Laverance, the praying grandma, I testified in her trial earlier this year. And again, objection. It took Attorney Roger Root's half a day just to establish the fact that I had actually earned a degree in journalism and have made my living as a journalist for 37 years. That's how, I mean, it would just object to everything. Attorney Roots would say, Mr. Powell, have you ever won any awards? Objection, Your Honor, irrelevant. Okay, so
right.
And then the next morning, the judge was just totally off the rails, and I'm saying, like, Your Honor, the prosecutors are hiding, and he wouldn't let me speak with a defense attorney. I was his witness. After the end of the day, on the first day, his last instruction to me was, Mr. Powell, you will not discuss this case with the attorney. Okay, now I'm pretty much as big an expert on what happened on the east side of the Capitol on January 6th as anybody. Okay, but the prosecution was hiding Brady material, and I wasn't allowed to communicate that fact to the defense attorney so that he could ask me the right questions. And I got into it with the judge. I thought he was going to throw me in contempt there for a little bit. I told him that, Your Honor, this is unsatisfactory. Yes,
exactly. You're
go ahead, Sean.
You are a first-hand witness to everything, and you're a credible witness and a credible journalist. For the judge to object more times than the prosecution, and this was all in D.C., right? Was this all in D.C.,
D.C. District Court. Yes, they were all in D.C. District Court in the John Prettyman building.
Yeah, I don't think everyone that I've heard of that's gone in that courtroom has not gotten a fair trial. I think maybe one or two people.
No, it's impossible.
But right.
Well,
let me bring Bobby. Let me bring Christine Bishop on the conversation, if that's okay with you.
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay. Let me bring Christine in.
I just wanted to point out that there were a couple of not guilty verdicts, but they were in front of they were a bench trial and not in front of a jury. Good evening, young lady. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
Well, I'm still breathing God's good air, so it's a good day.
Very good. Very good. That's a bonus. Well, what I have to add to the conversation is just, I was in Sacramento doing a counter protest, if you will, or a sister protest here in Sacramento. And we didn't have all the mayhem that was going on in D.C. But what I did have was a friend of mine. We didn't have the FBI or staffers directing people. So it was a friend of mine here, and he went into the Capitol and just did silly things. But what he did do is he sent me photographs while he was doing this, and one of the photographs is a staffer in a black overcoat and glasses, and I'm told he's the man who unlocked Pelosi's door. Now, I've dropped those into...
This is the first time hearing of it, but I'd like to see those photographs.
Okay, well, and actually on the Twitter page, I dropped those in the chat, so you can share them if you'd like. And the guy's smiling in one of the pictures, and then you go to and he's talking to the people that are in the Capitol, and then you see him where he's pointing, he's guiding them towards Pelosi's office. So the person who took these photographs claimed he's the one who unlocked the door. So their door wasn't broken into, from what I was told. I wasn't there.
Well, I wouldn't doubt that for a moment. I'm sure that you've seen Congressman Clay Higgins pointing out the ghost buses that arrived in Washington, D.C. that were filled with government agents that were pre-stationed inside the Capitol on January 6th. Clay Higgins received my video at a Freedom Caucus press conference when I was last in Washington, D.C. to testify in U.S. v. Zink. I gave it to Ron Johnson when he hosted a congressional screening of the Epic Times movie, January 6th, The Real Story, The Long Road Home. There's been a lot of talk about bad people trying to suppress this. I'm not going to go into any names because it's just unnecessary at this point, but I do want to single out Ivan Raiklin for some praise because he's helped me get this video to an additional 5 United States congressmen, including chairman of the GOP Oversight Committee, Barry Loudermilk. So if anybody's got something nasty to say about Ivan Raiklin, you got to come through me first. That man's done more to help me than any other person in this God's green earth. And that's all I got to say about that. But if you have any more questions, please feel free to ask. I am a font of information, and I want your listeners
well, I'd like to know who this staffer is. I would like to know who the photograph of this man in the suit that's unlocking the door. That's what I really want to know, because these were photographs that were taken at the time when all of this was going on, because my friend was sending them out. He was posting on social media and texting them to me directly.
Hey, well, let me ask you a question. Has that photograph ever appeared on the FBI's wanted database?
I haven't seen it. So if you can forward it over, like I said, I sent it over to you in a messenger. I would love to know who this guy is smiling in the glasses.
Okay. Yeah, I was just looking at his picture of Christine. I was trying to figure out if he looked familiar.
Who is he?
That's a good question.
I think that's going to answer a lot of questions. Who unlocked the door to Pelosi's office, and he's the only one in a suit?
I'm gonna post that on Twitter, Christy, and see who bites on it.
Okay.
I'm gonna post that photo. Can somebody,
well,
explain
there's 2 of them.
or tell
One
us
of them
who
where
this
he's
guy
in a crowd. There's 2 pictures of him. One of them he's like in a crowd. Then in the second picture, you can see with his hand where he's motioning the people towards the door. Come on, this way.
Yeah, I'm looking at the pictures now. Is it one of the pictures that you inboxed me?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
Same guy twice, but they're 2 different photos. I was told by the person who took them, he's the one who unlocked the door.
Well, I'm not finding them. Chauncey, would you mind DMing them to me, please?
Yeah, I'll do it right now because I'm saving them. I'll DM them right now to you.
Okay, but yeah, that was what initially caught my attention, is the complete lack of interest by the FBI in the 2 men that I recorded up close and personal. Okay, I gave them 29 minutes of high-definition video on January 15th, 2021. After that initial contact, I have volunteered to come in and give the FBI all of my video from the 5th and 6th and sit down for an interview with them no less than 6 times. Each offer was refused. They won't return my phone calls to their tip line. As a matter of fact, the last one, which I've recorded them all, but the last one, the woman was so exasperated she actually hung up on me. They won't return my press inquiries. They won't return my FOIA requests. And now I'm going to drop a big old bomb on y'all.
Okay.
The man in brown that was holding the Columbus doors open with a pole, he was videotaped by myself and by on the opposite side of him by videographer Paul Mulholland. And if you go to Rumble where the subcommittee on oversight, House Majority, has been releasing the videos from security cameras in and around the Capitol, you will notice that they're all uploaded in 20-minute segments, except for the interior rotunda door camera 7029. That is broken up into 8-minute segments, and the 8 minutes that Capitol Hill doorman, that's what we call him, hashtag Capitol doorman. Well, the 8 minutes he was holding the Columbus doors open with a pole are missing. Whoever is in charge of uploading the videos to Rumble, and Senator or Congressman Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, is the ultimate authority, is purposely hiding this video from the inside of the Columbus doors from the American people. So not only is the FBI dirty, not only is the judiciary dirty, members of Congress are also suppressing this video. I don't know why.
Because they're a part
I don't know who's the good guy.
The corruption.
Yep, I don't know who's a good guy and who's a bad guy anymore. I cannot make sense of it. I don't know how these congressmen who've had this video for 3.5 years can sleep at night knowing that January 6th political prisoners are being physically and medically abused, and they and their families are being psychologically tortured to the point of suicide. It's unacceptable. And somebody's got to stand up and say something about it. And if it kills me, if it's my last words that come out of my mouth, I'm going to say that January 6th was a Fedsurrection.
Amen. Amen.
There you go.
And you have the receipts to prove it.
Oh, I do. I said I wasn't going to go calling out. I said I wasn't going to go calling out people, but here's two prominent examples. Okay, I know Sean Hannity. Sean Hannity had Chad worked for a radio station WCHY 97.7 on January 6th, and Matt DePerno is our station's attorney. Matt DePerno is the man that brought the case of the overturned election votes in Antrim County to everybody's attention. And then during the midterms, he ran unsuccessfully for Michigan Attorney General. So I had Sean Hannity's producer's private cell phone number. Sean Hannity's had this video since January 12th of 2021 and has done nothing about it. On my website at bobbypowell.substack.com, you'll find recordings of myself and his producer going back and forth for months about why my video hadn't appeared on Fox News. She lied to me for months until I called her out on the air in front of 150,000 people, and then she hung up on me. Okay, so I don't know what Sean Hannity's reason is. Maybe Paul Ryan's got him by the cojones and is squeezing him just a little bit. I don't know. But I do know that Dan Bongino is an out-and-out liar. I sent him my video first by Facebook on June 6, 2021. He's seen it. I kept on sending him updates through Facebook and through info@bongino.com and tips@bongino.com. Half a dozen of those emails for about 9 months until I got sick of being ignored, and I went to the Florida Florida Division of Corporations website, and I found the address for Bongino Inc., which was in Palm City, Florida, which is ironically the first place I ever held a job as a journalist. I used to live right across the street from where Dan Bongino lives or has his studio now, and back then it was just a cow field. But so yeah, my journey's brought me full circle. But old Scooter signed, that's what I call Dan Bongino now, hashtag Scooter. Scooter signed personally for a United States Postal Service registered letter that contained my video on a thumb drive and a 3-page written narrative that explained everything, along with my business card. He didn't have to stick the thumb drive into his computer. I know that's an objection that a lot of people have. All he had to do was go to bobbypowell.substack.com and see the video on YouTube. Okay, so now I know that he's seen it by January of 2022. He goes on the air after a bunch of our mutual viewers call him up or send him text messages and say, hey, Dan, why aren't you publishing the video that Bobby Powell gave you? And he goes on the air in front of 1.5 million Fox viewers. He still worked at Fox in the time. And he called me a liar. He said that he had never seen the video. But if you go to bobbypowell.substack.com, you will not only see a photograph of the United States Postal Service package that I sent to Bongino, Speaker McCarthy, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Louis Gohmert, and Mark Meadows. They were all signed for in December of 2021. Okay, so he's a damned liar. And he calls me out, calling me a liar. I've got receipts. All he ever does is flap his gums. Okay, so don't trust the media, folks. Don't trust Fox News. Trust me. I've been in the media. They lie. All of our media is controlled by no more than 6 corporations. They own all of the television stations. They own all of the radio stations and all of the newspapers. When you hear the term Mockingbird Media, they get the local news television stations get their marching orders from the wire, is what we used to call it back in the day. We would rip a story off the wire and read it on the air. Mm-hmm. No fact checking, no independent verification of anything. We would just read it. Okay, now I'm aware of this. I have gone to every television station and radio station in the state of Florida and given them this video. They have done nothing with it. It scares everybody to death. In fact, when I was testifying in Rebecca Laverin's trial earlier this year, it came time for the prosecution to cross-examine me, and they said, we have no questions for this, Your Honor. You should have seen the look of fear on their faces, Chauncey, because they knew that I had identified that federal agent that pulled the window from its frame, and they were scared to death that I would say it in open court. I got into an argument with the judge. I said, you know, he's telling me I can't say Antifa. He's telling me I can't say anarchist. I said, Your Honor, I've got the text messages from Hunter Impey's mother confirming that he was an Antifa and BLM supporter right here on my phone. I've got a thumb drive with Gavin Kroll admitting that he's an anarchist right here in my pocket. And I told him that my life has even been threatened by a United States congressman, no less, from Michigan, Bay Cities District, Kerry Bentivolio, a former United States congressman who, as I thought, was a friend of mine. Okay, I'm asking him in 2021 to help me get my video of these federal agents attacking the Capitol directly to President Trump. Because, as you can imagine, a United States congressman would have a lot more phone numbers in his little black book than I do. Okay? So I go to meet Kerry at this rib shack in Bay City. And after we exchange pleasantries, you know, how's the wife, kids, how was church, and all that crap, order our lunch. It was an awesome lunch, actually. But Kerry says to me, and this is right after the video had appeared on Greg Kelly's show on Newsmax. And Kerry says to me, Bobby, what would it take to get you to stop talking about your January 6th video? I said, well, why would I do that, Kerry? He says, because Ron Weiser wants you to. He said, you know who Ron Weiser is, right? Of course I know who Ron Weiser is, I said. He's the chairman of the Michigan Republican Party. Why in the world would he want me to stop talking about this video that shows federal agents attacking the Capitol and not Trump supporters? Kerry didn't answer my question. He just came back with, how about $100,000? I kind of laughed at him. I said, you got to be kidding me. And he looks me dead in the eyes and he says, how about $200,000? Would that be enough? At this point, I'm realizing that my quote-unquote friend is actually offering me a $200,000 bribe to just go away and never talk about this video again, let it go sliding down the memory hole. And I told him, look, Kerry, I want you to go back and you tell Ron Weiser he doesn't have enough money to buy my honor or my silence. You tell Ron Weiser that if he wants me to stop talking about this video, he's going to have to kill me. At which point, Congressman Kerry Bentivolio, Republican Bay City, said that could be arranged. It gets worse. Not 6 weeks later, I'm showing the video to a crowd at a vigil on the anniversary of January 6th outside the Pinellas County Courthouse where Oathkeeper Jeremy Brown was being held. Just as I'm finishing my speech, Pinellas County deputies arrest a man with a pipe bomb. Sheriff Bob Galtieri, the next day at his press conference, confirmed that it was a deadly device, wire wrapped, packed with nails, that could have hurt a lot of people. I'm quoting him now. Okay? But this kid, Garrett James Smith, I'm getting, Garrett James Smith. I'm getting these two weirdos mixed up. Okay, Garrett James Smith, who had just changed his name to Jordan Hanna. Okay, so he's some kind of transgender Antifa incel. He keeps his mouth shut. He makes no statement. He's in the Pinellas County Jail on a $300,000 bond for a week until the FBI swoops in, and they say that the Pinellas and the Hillsborough County bomb squads, who both examined the device, were amateurs. They didn't know what they were talking about. The FBI and the ATF declared that that device was a novelty smoke device, and they let him go. Little trivia about Garrett James Smith. Born, allegedly, on January 6th in the year 2000. It was his 22nd birthday. Sheriff Bob Galtieri confirmed that he had just returned from terrorist training in Portland with Antifa. Sheriff Bob Galtieri confirmed that Garrett James Smith had no social media that they could find. What 22-year-old do you know that has no social media whatsoever? This kid was a total creation of the FBI. And as soon as I published my video of the attempted bombing, somebody sent me video of him from the original January 6th, breaking down barriers, yelling, "We're going to take this crap today." And, of course, he used a more, he used an expletive. And tearing down barricades in the presence of no less than Ray Epps. So this kid is what the federal government, what intelligence agencies call a kite. They call him a kite because they send him out to do their dirty work with a string attached. But if something goes wrong, they snip the string. The kite's off in the wind. It's like Mission Impossible. Okay, we will deny that you ever existed, kind of stuff.
Exactly.
But you know, I've got all this evidence. I've got all the receipts. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. We have less than 10 minutes left. I want to see if Christine would like to add to it or say anything briefly.
Well,
you would,
I believe everything. I believe everything that Bobby has said, and I've talked to other people who were incarcerated, who were let out, and they are on the mission, the same mission that you are on, to get the truth out. Bobby, in Facebook, I sent you some direct messages. Hopefully you can identify and authenticate the photographs that I sent you. And
I just
can
found
make
them.
you this promise. when I am sworn in Congress, I will do my best to help.
Well, God bless you. You'll be the only one that bothers or
From
has
what I'm
bothered.
told, everybody else, it's just a show. Yeah, they're not interested in helping.
No, as a matter of fact, I was told at Clay Clark's Magical Mystery Tour that down at Trump Doral in Miami earlier this year that January 6th issue is a loser for Republicans, and they are not going to bring it up at all. Okay, they're not going to have a weaponization hearing unless President Trump becomes president and Republicans take the House and Senate. That is unacceptable. We have prisoners behind enemy lines, and they cannot be left there.
Is it true that some of the J6 prisoners were shipped off to Gitmo?
I have never heard that.
Okay.
I haven't heard that either.
I've heard it several times.
Well, I'm going to start looking into that. I mean, most of them have gone to either federal prisons or still holding in D.C. gulag. You know, don't know if anyone had went to the Gitmo. But I'll make a phone call and find out. The general might know. He might know. That's a very good question. You've heard that guys have been sent to Gitmo. We have to check into that.
I've heard that several times.
Yeah, it's a shame how our government has treated American citizens and veterans. It's been a travesty. Listening to these stories of how they've torn apart families. I mean, the damage that they have done to innocent people with no prior records and giving them sentences and then putting them in prison also because with the domestic terrorist charge, it's enhanced. Now they're around murderers and real criminals. And that's even the sadder part, is that they're putting, these guys and gals in danger by how they place them in these different prisons.
Well,
it's really
I'm just going to go ahead and, Chauncey, I'm going to throw this out there. My oldest daughter died on May 13th, 2022, because of the open borders. They're letting anybody and everybody cross that border. They're bringing in drugs, human trafficking, illegal weapons. When she died, nobody went looking for the drug dealer. Nobody went looking for anyone. Yet they're willing to spend all this money and time to put people who, at worst, trespassed.
I'm so sorry for your loss, Christine.
Thank you. But my point is, the real bad guys are not being prosecuted. There was some vandalism by some bad people. They need to get to the bottom of that. And there was some trespassing by some people who made some silly mistakes. But if you look at the pictures that I sent you, looks like they're being invited in.
Well, I can tell you what I know for a fact from Rebecca Laverin's trial. They said that she unlawfully entered the Capitol. Well, I saw that video that they were using as a defense exhibit. A defense exhibit, by the way, that the judge would not let me refer to in my testimony. Or, no, it was a prosecution exhibit. I'm sorry. Judge Farquhar would not let me allow to the prosecution's exhibit. But even though it had already been entered into evidence. But she did not enter the Capitol of her own volition. She was in the middle of a crowd. She's a little old lady, 72 years old. She was swept in by the mob. She had no choice. And as soon as she said a prayer, Rebecca Laveren, I'm sorry, can you say that? You're breaking up.
Was that a Vietnamese lady? Can you hear me, Bobby?
Say it one more time.
Was that lady Vietnamese? Because another J6er, Anthony Vo, his grandmother, I think she was 72, got arrested for being at the Capitol as well. I was just trying to ask you if that was the same person or a different senior citizen.
No, Rebecca
Okay.
Laverns is a white grandmother, great grandmother, 72
Okay.
years old. She was swept
That's
into
sad.
the Capitol by a mob.
Yeah.
She spent a few minutes praying, and as soon as the way was open for her to exit the Capitol, she did so peacefully. She didn't break any windows. She didn't assault any police officers. She didn't cause any damage whatsoever. She prayed inside the Capitol, and for that she's facing a year in prison. Hunter Impke, the man who broke the first Capitol window, and testimony shows that that was the first window broken in the Capitol, the one that I recorded. He actually did commit violence, and he spent 4 months in jail. This is not right. This is a two-tiered system of justice, and nobody
Bobby,
has the cojones to stand up and expose it.
Bobby,
So I guess
look
I'm
how
nominated.
long. Yeah, Bobby, look how long it took them to prosecute Ray Epps, and then they gave him a slap on the wrist. You know, we kept saying for years now he was a plant. And then finally the FBI arrested him, but then they gave him probation. And I remember the night before, he was on the video saying, "We got to storm the Capitol. We got to go into the Capitol." The night before January 6th, I saw that video, and apparently
Well, there's
he
more
must
than
be
one.
a part of that. Right.
Yeah, there's video of him on the day of January 6th saying, "There's the Capitol. There's where our problems lie." So
Yep.
Ray Epps is a total fed, and he refers to himself as a former Marine. I cannot think of a more true statement. That is there's no such thing as a former Marine. We are Marines
That's
until
right.
we lay horizontal in a straight, proficient military manner and go home to our Lord. He is a former Marine. I'm revoking his Marine Corps kit.
Bobby, I'm giving you 30 seconds. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to close out, and I'm going to have you back on, and then I'll let Chris say a couple of things in closing, and then I'm going to close the show out, okay?
Okay. Thank you, Chauncey. Folks, this fight has taken everything out of me. I've had to sell my house and buy a fifth wheel and a truck so that I could go around the country to small Trump clubs and these events like CPAC where I handed these thumb drives out like candy to movers and shakers. It's just really expensive. And I've spent over, every dime that I ever earned and had saved and gone $30,000 into debt to get us to this point right here. So if you have it within your ability, please go to givesendgo.com/Bobby Powell and throw me a couple of bucks, because I'm not done fighting yet. I've had 6 heart attacks and 2 serious episodes of AFib since January 6th. But they are not keeping me down. God's keeping me around for a reason. He's keeping me around because he needs a fighter, and I am that fighter. I need your help, though, to keep going, because I can't do it by myself.
We got you covered. Okay, go ahead, Christine, because I'm going to run out of time here.
Okay, just real quick, let you know right now I'm in the fight to get elected here in California, but people being held in Washington, D.C. without due process. There's a lot of lawyers there. I don't know what's going on, but that's one of the things I intend to get to the bottom of. You're not alone. I'll do what I can do to help you.
Amen. I want to thank J6 journalist Bobby Powell for coming on. Bobby Powell is going to be on again August 12th. Also, GOP nominee for California District 6, Christine Bish, is running again. She's going to be here in the studio again on August 7th. Thank you both for taking time out of your schedule to come on and talk about this very important issue that is affecting our country. I want to thank you both. Up next, on Wednesday, I'm having in the studio James Hutton, ex-presidential appointee, retired colonel of the U.S. Army. He's written several books. We're going to have him on, and we're going to talk about the state of the nation. And I'm going to have him on a couple more times because we're going to talk about the military. We're going to talk about China. So please, look up for the upcoming events for that. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Have a good night. God bless you all. And we'll see you on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Good night now.